Being one of the late jobs for the Earth Crystal in Final Fantasy V, the Samurai is actually a very decent front-end fighter. For the most part, it's got some pretty good abilities that you can pick up as a Samurai. And overall, it gets access to katanas, which are pretty high damaging when they flick crits. And they also get some pretty nifty abilities. Technically, only two notable abilities are well known for the Samurais, but they also get probably one of the best sealed weapons in the entire game, which I'll go over in a little while. But overall, the Samurai is actually a very decent warrior job, despite being out-edged by the likes of Berserker, Knight, and Monk, though. Hi, I'm Storm331. We're back to doing more Final Fantasy V jobs guides for beginners, and we're going to be covering the Samurai. This is the last of the Earth Crystal jobs that we're going to be covering, so we might as well get that out of the way now. Of course, Samurais are pretty much, like I said, in terms of front-end fighters, for their modifiers, they get 19 strength and stamina, plus 2 on agility, and minus 12 on magic. So basically, it's more of a front-end fighter. Now, of course, against the likes of Monk, Knight, and Berserker, they basically lose out on both the strength and stamina modifiers. But technically, this is actually one of the more well-built jobs in terms of durability. So you can't really go wrong with the Samurai in general. And like I said before, katanas really inflict crits in this game, but they're very hard to come by in general. Sadly, some of the abilities they do get aren't exactly very effective. It's also one of the more expensive jobs in terms of ABP in general, because the last ability requires you with 540 to get, and when you combine it with the others, it is very expensive, almost exactly like Red Mage here, who has not only you have to learn the level 3 red magic spells, but you also have to master dual cast, which is 999. Of course, each job does have its own ABP ability points in total to master, so some will be easy to acquire, whereas others will take very long to get done. But anyway, now that we covered the modifiers, let's go cover the abilities that are associated with the Samurai. At level 1 for Samurai, we get Minuchi. Apparently, it's an ability that allows you to stun enemies in general and inflict paralysis to them. It's not really a very useful ability, unfortunately, because from what I've studied and learned up on this ability, it's quite bugged. So it's actually a very worthless ability, unfortunately. It's kind of sad. It would have been nice to inflict paralysis, but I think later in the game, more and more enemies will start getting more higher resistance against status elements, so it's not really a very useful ability overall. But luckily, its level 2 ability is actually something most players will want to get their hands on. So once you get your Samurai to level 2, they'll learn Zananging. This is an ability that's automatically applied to anyone becoming a Samurai when they switch to this job. Basically, you take a certain amount of gil, and then you throw it at the enemies. Your damage is based on your character's level, along with your gil. And it's apparently also affected by level, I believe, as well. I'll have to do more research because I don't know much about it, but technically, higher level, more money equals more damage. So, in other words, the Sanangi is actually one of the best multi-targeting physical attacks you get access to the entire game. Not to mention the fact that it's a non-element, it allows you to really clean up some bosses that require you to fight mobile enemies, like the Perobros, of course, those enemies from the Great Sea Serpent Trench, among others. And it's also very useful against Neo X-Def himself when you get to the end of the game. So overall, it's a very awesome ability, and anyone that's going down physical attacking paths should definitely pick up this ability. Shidori is the level 3 ability you get as a Samurai upon hitting level 3, and this is more of a defensive support ability, which enables you to basically have a 50-50 chance of evading physical attacks. It's very similar to the Monk, that whereas they retaliate upon being attacked. Chidori has a 50-50 chance of evading attacks. This is very good for anyone taking down mage paths, because once this job gets mastered, you can then transfer to your freelancer or mime, and they can basically pick up Chidori. It's very good to avoid physical attacks, but just keep in mind it won't let you dodge magical attacks though, so keep that in mind when using Chidori. The level 4 ability you get as a samurai is Equip Katanas. Equip Katanas, of course, gives you the strength modifier of 19, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, you do get one of the best sealed katanas in the entire game, the Masamune, because not only is it a very good weapon, but when used as an item, it'll be able to cast haste on party members. Of course, if you already got party members equipped with Hermes sandals, that's kind of rather moot, but this is actually a pretty decent option if you want to. Another benefit about the Masamune, of course, is that when party members are equipped with that, they'll not only get first strike off the gate, but the person equipped with Masamune always goes first. So that's very important if you want to set up to combat Omega. If you want to set up your bards and Spellblade Thundagas, rapid fire combo, pretty much. But of course, the equipped samurai, equipped katanas will be very useful for anyone that wants the 19 modifier and want to have access to katanas. Of course, I would only recommend this if you want to have those members wield the Masamune, of course. The final ability at level 5 that samurais do get is Inuki. My apologies if I don't say it right. This is arguably the most expensive ability among the samurai job, because it requires you 540 ABP. But once you master it, that person that uses it has a chance of taking out the entire enemy party with an instant death attack. Of course, it won't always work, because if an enemy's protected against instant death, it will not work on them. And of course, not all enemies can be sliced. Let's just put it that way. But it takes quite a while before the person that uses it to activate. Technically, Zenangi is probably better use than this move, but if you do want access to Chidori for your freelancer or mimes, it's probably good to master this job in general, which makes making Inuki well worth the effort to master in the end. So what other abilities can we apply with the can sync well with Samurai? Well, for starters, they can access Knight's Guard, because they can equip shields and heavy armor just like the Knights. Of course, you can also assign them to the cover ability, but you can't have both of them on there since they're not freelancers. Of course, if you want them to have more attack power, giving Monk's barehanded ability will help them out immensely. They can also take advantage of the Monk's counter passive ability. Syncing that with syncing both that and Chidori together will make it very easy. So if Chidori fails to trigger and you trigger counter, that works well, and vice versa. Now, of course, if you're more concerned about your samurai's agility, giving them the Thief's Artful Dodger can help them get the Thief's 16 agility, which could be very useful. Given the fact the samurai has very good stamina and strength modifiers, that might not be a bad idea to give to them with Artful Dodger. Now, of course, Ninja can give samurai some much needed abilities. For one, you can give them the dual wield ability, which will allow them to equip two katanas as opposed to just having only one. So if you need more weapons for your samurai, giving them the dual wield is not a bad option. You can also give them access to throw, which allows you to throw any surplus weapons or scrolls or shurikens if you want. Now, of course, samurais can take full advantage of rapid fire as well. Just keep in mind is that your attack power is halved when using this move, but it ensures that your attacker does get accurate damage, even if it's less. Now, because samurais can equip dice, they can take full advantage of Mystic Knight's Spellblade. Just keep in mind the katanas do not sync well with the Spellblade, which is unfortunate. But if you're going to give your samurais knives, you may want to strongly consider giving them the spell blade. And I think that's pretty much it for Samurai as a whole. Basically, the Samurai is actually one of the more fourth best physical attack fighters that you get for jobs. And thanks to Zanagi, it actually makes them very good for fighting mobile enemies at once. Of course, make sure you have an appropriate team of healers and backups to help you out, and the Samurai will not fail you for the most part. Overall, this is actually a pretty darn good class to have, especially for the Earth job. So anyway, that concludes the Samurai Guide. Hope that helps beginners get their feet wet with this job once you do get it. You'll definitely have loads of fun with it once you get Zanangin and Shidori abilities. But anyway, we'll be right back. We're going to take a small break, and then we'll be back to cover the Summoner job next. So we'll be right back.